Hi, this is Professor Griffin here. We are discussing the continuing role of artificial intelligence in the future of marketing, and I'm lucky to have with me today my very own brother, Rogan Griffin, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Interplay Learning. And
Yeah,
Rogan, yeah, do you want to kind of describe what you do over there at Interplay?
although this is about machine learning, that's not specifically what we pursue. We do training specifically for the skilled trades industries in virtual reality. So that's in a VR headset, learning how to, for example, fix a refrigerator or fix your air conditioning unit. That's our main industry.
But it's all a virtual reality environment.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so, if I understand, you've kind of spent your career dedicated to building platforms and structures for learning in a way. Is that?
Yeah. Whether it's for learning or for authoring different 3D environments or scenes or games. I was at Pixar, and that was a lot of my focus, was building tools for the artists to be able to build 3D scenes.
Okay, and you've been following AI technology for several years now, and
Yeah, in a few of the industries I'm in, AI is really shaking things up and changing things, and really made me realize that it's something that we need to adapt to. We need to realize it's coming. It's going to be part of all of our jobs very soon, and we need to be ready for it, because it does require you to think differently, more differently than you expect.
it seemed like the other day I heard you mention that you thought that programmers in general would be mostly out of programming jobs within the next how long?
Yeah, so OpenAI just released their Codex model, and it'll make more sense after we talk about GPT-3 what it is. But right now, I'd say in 5 years, programmers will be using AI to augment their coding every day. That'll be an everyday thing. And I think within a decade, the programming as we know it today will no longer be a career. The people who will succeed in a lot of industries, I believe, are the people who know best how to leverage machine learning in their industry. This isn't only programmers. This will affect so many industries, including marketing, for example.
Okay, so you're going to kind of teach us how content marketing, for example, is about to be revolutionized, and there's not going to be any more actual writing and generating content by humans.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which
maybe not entirely, but certainly the work of content creators will be augmented in a large way. Okay. And your ability to use those tools will be extremely important.
Well, let's maybe dive into one of these tools that you have been playing with and following over the last decade, probably, or so.
Yeah, actually, it hasn't been that long. It's just the ability of this particular AI network type has just accelerated so fast. It's really only been a couple of years that the GPT algorithms, transformer algorithms have really expanded.
So, Rogan, if I understand, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Is that right?
I actually haven't looked it up, but if you did, that sounds right. Yeah.
I had to Google that. I Wikipedia'd it. Yeah. And yeah, generative pre-trained transformer. What does that term actually mean?
Yeah. so the pre-trained is actually an important part of the term, right? So with machine learning algorithms, many of them, you have the ability to give it some data and train the algorithm on that data. Let's say it's some financial market data, and you train it on to say like, well, when this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And there's the way that you don't create an algorithm. The computer kind of creates the algorithm itself based on, it creates a neural network, which is like a bunch of nodes all connected to each other. And as the neural network hits a particular target correctly, it learns like, oh yeah, this is correct. And so the neural network gets built out. Now, the training of that for small machine learning models can happen quite quickly. You can do them on a home computer. With this particular network, it quickly expanded to beyond the capabilities of home computers. So let me explain what it is. You feed it a bunch of text data, okay? In the case of GPT-3, it was just pulled from the web, just a bunch of data pulled from all kinds of sources from the web, whether that's Wikipedia, whether that's Reddit, just anything that they could get their hands on. They got all this text, like, I've forgotten exactly what the size of the text was, 570 gigabytes of text. You know, that's half a terabyte, doesn't seem that much, but just pure text. And then they trained this network, they pre-trained this network on the text. Now, why I say this isn't something you can do on your home computer is because what it does is the neural network, based on words, it predicts what the next word will be. So it's kind of like this network of this word will lead to this word will lead to this word. It's like a bunch of words all strung together. Works kind of like predictive text on your phone, right? You've seen how that works, but this is just thousands and thousands and thousands times larger than that predictive text algorithm.
So this is essentially it's trained to spot patterns. So if you say, you know, dog, it's going to say after dog, it's very likely you're going to say and cats or
Correct.
Whatever, right?
That's exactly right. So if you train this at home on a home computer, let's say you had 8 GPUs, so super powerful machine learning home computer, it would take you 36 years to train this network. And it cost OpenAI, which is the company that did it, cost them $12 million in order to train this network. So it's already beyond the capabilities of, you know, anyone to take a bunch of text and feed it in. You basically, unless you have a bunch of resources, unless you want your Microsoft or Google or whatever, you're not going to be able to pre-train this model yourself. So pre-trained, they have already trained the model, the GPT-3 model. They've spent all the money. Now we get to use it. Now, usually in machine learning, it's like, well, you've already got this trained model, you know, it can't be expanded on, like it's static. The thing is, though, this model is so enormous that that's not actually a huge detriment to the model, because it's been trained with so much text that I'll show you, as when we do the demonstrations, I can show you how you can manually yourself specialize the model to get what you want, because it's so general. It knows so much about what words come next, what sort of text leads into other text, that you can specialize a pre-trained model, which is a big deal for machine learning in general.
Okay. So essentially it's like you're talking to this machine that's got all this deep learning. It's pulled the entire network of all human learning, and now it's just going to be able to spit out texts based on any subject that you wanted to talk about.
Yep.
Is that
That's correct. It's an extremely smart pattern, like recognizing patterns and then continuing that pattern of text, recognizing patterns of text and continuing them.
So this is like Alexa, but even smarter, probably.
It has a different purpose. Something like Alexa and other agents like that, they could make use of a model like this. There's a lot of areas where it can be useful. Yeah, and they have started using it for things beyond text. They've even been able to take this same approach and use it for image generation or for code generation as well. Like I mentioned earlier about programmers, like patterns exist in lots of places that we work.
Okay. So where is Alexa? You're talking to Alexa, she's answering specific questions that you might have, looking at specific data. This is more of, I'm going to generate a whole, expand on this idea and give you more content than what
exactly. Yeah, they work a different way and they have different uses. Alexa's much more targeted. Alexa's tying together a bunch of smaller algorithms that, or machine learning algorithms that to help you out.
Okay, so again, we're talking about a tool called GPT-3, which is AI, like generative kind of an app, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you want to go ahead and start showing us what it's capable of and how it might affect our lives?
Certainly, you want to enable screen sharing for me, and I'll start to show them GPT-3 Playground, which comes with their once you have access to GPT-3.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so OpenAI is the company that makes it. There's a few different options here on the right. Not really important to go in now, but do notice that they have different models, each of them some larger than others, basically smarter than others. They've trained different versions of their engine. Da Vinci is the smartest one and largest, but also they charge you a certain amount of tokens depending on which model you use. In my use of it, I'd say it costs maybe 30 cents per large paragraph. So this isn't a free engine. The GPT-2, which is the previous generation, you can mostly use for free, but it's much less capable of generating coherent text.
So Rogan, we're almost like going back to the old days when authors used to be paid per word when they wrote books, and that's why you had the old Victorian novels were so long.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so let's play around and I'll show you how you specialize the model yourself to get at what you want, right? Now, the way this works, you've got to remember that it's completing a pattern of words. So for example, if I want it to write in a certain way, I need to write in a certain way. For example, if I wanted to write, let's say, an article about something, right? I need to write my text to sound like an article as what's called the prompt. The prompt is the text you give it that it's going to complete. So let's say scientists were shocked to find that in the mountains of Peru, a herd of unicorns had existed outside of human observation for thousands of years. Okay.
How about we make it the mountains of Utah, or the Wasatch Front?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Wasatch Mountains of Utah.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. And here's the thing, this is a live demo. So it may come up with the strangest stuff, may even come up with offensive stuff, because remember what this is trained on. It's trained on all, 500 gigabytes of just internet text. Let's see how it does.
Okay.
And it's mostly garbage. This looks like what you would get if almost looks like a conspiracy, what a conspiracy channel would generate.
So what are the YouTube links that it was generating?
Those will be just like not real stuff. Like it knows the pattern, but this is kind of like, I obviously can't write in a scientific enough way to make an article. But if we don't like it, we can just delete it and try again.
Okay.
Okay. The creatures were quickly captured by scientists who placed them in a compound similar to those used to hold buffalo. Scientists had suspected for years that the mystical creatures had roamed the earth, but were always met with skepticism and ridicule. The discovery is further evidence of the existence of such creatures as the Yeti and the Loch Ness Monster. Scientists say the discovery of the unicorns could be the biggest scientific breakthrough since fire was first produced. This doesn't sound like a very believable article, and that's probably with my prompt, it was fairly believable.
If you're producing content for some kind of clickbait, sensationalist publication or the National Enquirer or something, this is an easy way to write articles then.
Yep. Let's try some, let's specialize it in a different way now. Let's say Backstreet Boys' new album, We Love Unicorns, was released today. Too much. Let's see, fanfare. Songs on the album include one, unicorns are beautiful. You're like a unicorn. So complete the list. A unicorn. This place is not a boy band anymore. I'm a unicorn band. The Backstreet Boys are the best unicorns. We love unicorns. Anyway, you get the idea. So let's say you were writing a children's book. Or let's say you were doing a review of a children's book. Okay. Let's say Harriet Smith's new book, Please Go to Bed Now, is a favorite of children and parents across the country. Its use of stern imagery to what's the word? Accentuate the child's need for sleep. Let's see how it finishes. Combined with playful and imaginative drawings, made it a favorite bedtime book, etc., etc., etc.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's do something like a press release.
Sure.
See if we do something a bit closer to home. So let's say we want to write a press release that says Utah's silicon slopes have been outpacing California's Silicon Valley in tech investment, since COVID began or something like that.
All right, to be fair, Utah is a much smaller state. Let's stop it there. Than California, and has fewer venture capitalists and fewer scientists and engineers, but Silicon Slopes companies are growing faster. Silicon Valley companies and Silicon Slopes share of the nation's venture capital is growing faster.
Okay. And so it's coming up with some pretty relevant facts, yeah?
Yep.
And
yeah, not all of it is kind of made up.
Trying to spin things kind of and tell the best story about Silicon Slopes. So yeah, pretty smart. Yep. So as a marketer, obviously you're still going to have to edit that a little bit to make sure your narrative is being told. But I suppose the more you fine tune your text to the narrative you want to tell, the more it's going to understand what you want to get out of this, I suppose.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find some marketing text from my company's website.
Okay. And
see how it would continue it. And actually, I'm not familiar enough with the website to know where. Okay. Let's just try this. Oh, this is all about working it into play. It's not what I want.
So where was it coming up with all those benefits?
It's just completing patterns. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's coming up with this. Wow. This commercive VR. This is something that we've kind of, a phrase that we coined that doesn't really exist in the world out there, but yet it's kind of, from context, has come up with what commercive is. It's an enterprise cloud-based scalable training platform for high performance, high value technical training. That's pretty impressive. Even getting us a website that doesn't exist.
Who owns the copyright for this once you produce content on a tool like this?
Yeah, you own it. I mean, they don't own the copyright for the original text. So yeah, there's no royalties attached.
Okay. I also heard that Microsoft actually had bought the license for this open, for GPT-3, right?
They have bought an exclusive license to be the cloud provider for GPT-3. So OpenAI can still give access through their AI, but for example, Google Cloud or Amazon Cloud cannot provide these services through an agreement with OpenAI. Microsoft has an exclusive license on that. And I'm sure in the years ahead, we'll see them start to take advantage of that, especially in OpenAI codecs. I should show you how that works. So we'll use their example. So this is some Python code. And if I click submit here, it'll tell me exactly what that code does. We've actually already started using this at work. Like if somebody gives me some code to review, one of the first things I'll do is just throw it into OpenAI codex to explain the code to me, which shortcuts my reading of it so I understand it quicker. There is also some really cool, like for example,
hang on, I saw one there, Rogan, that I wanted, maybe you can mention. It said summarize for a second grader. There you go.
That's a great one.
So this for marketers, I could see a great application here because, when lawyers and CEOs write things, they sound like lawyers and engineers and CEOs.
Yeah.
Often the job of a marketer is to try explain this in simple language to the public.
Yeah.
And so
Let's try this one.
Translating. So
this is facts about Jupiter coming from Wikipedia, I imagine. Rephrased it for a second grader. Yep. I wonder if that would work on
what it would work on complex academic papers, do you think?
Let's try. I'm going to try my company's marketing text. See how it does. Yep. Totally works.
Yeah. That's pretty useful.
Yeah.
When the engineers give you a white paper explaining their latest tool that they've developed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can see here how you specialize in the model in this case. This is a good example of the tricks you can pull to specialize the model. Because there aren't all these knobs you can turn for saying, no, I want to use it for this, I want to use it for this. The specializing is all about pattern completion. So you have to write things like, my second grader asked me what this passage means. I rephrased it for him in plain language. So you also specialize in the model in text, in plain text, asking it to do something. It's pretty amazing what you can do with that.
Okay. So how do you think this is going to change the industry? Is this smart enough now that you can essentially bypass human authors and public relations specialists, etc.?
Yeah. Like I was talking about for programmers, it won't change it immediately. But in 5 years, everyone will be using this or something like it to augment what they're doing, to augment their content creation. GPT-3, it took a lot of money, $12 million to train. It's 100 times bigger than GPT-2, but the capabilities are so much bigger. In a few years, there will be another version of this that will be 100 times bigger than GPT-3, and that will blow us away, I'm sure. The capability, coherency will increase so much. So it's definitely, going to be something we use in our jobs all the time.
Wow. And at that point, you're to the stage where, why should I bother writing anything? I'm not nearly as eloquent or smart as this machine.
Yeah, in some ways you could look at it like that. But the other ways you could look at it is, how can I leverage this to become even better at what I'm doing, to both save myself time and to be able to, then it might come up with stuff that you wouldn't think of, right? That you can use, or certain ways to phrase things, or it's actually, because of its pattern completion, it's fairly good at putting together kind of well-structured text as well.
So the only one drawback I can see to this, though, is because it's essentially using regression analysis, right? It's taking an average of everything that's out there on the internet and trying to see what usually happens here. So doesn't everything start sounding the same in the end? I mean, everything that we read, will it start sounding like it was scripted by the same author?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And when you look at, the kind of the very quickly generated articles on the internet, there's already a lot of garbage on the internet. And a lot of it is already using things like this that are even worse. Will we see an even greater increase in a lot of content that humans have never touched. I think that is a definite danger of something like this. And we already know the havoc that algorithms, machine learning algorithms set loose on us are releasing on humankind, to increase our engagement in using whatever site it is, whether it's social networking sites or YouTube or whatever it may be. How will these algorithms be used to increase our engagement, increase our perhaps political outrage, or our even more insular bubbles that we get into? When GPT-2 was first released, OpenAI was concerned about it. They didn't release it to the public because they were concerned about how will this be used? Will it be used for good or will it be used for evil? They ended up releasing it and GPT-3. So either they decided this is going to happen, whether we like it or not, someone is going to do it. Or they decided, hey, we can actually make a lot of money off of this. And they decided it was worth selling humanity down the river.
Well, you got a lot of marketers out there that would be very happy to pay 30 cents per paragraph, with cuts their workday by, in 100, it's 100 times faster than what you could write yourself.
Yeah.
Trying to do the research and come up with good ways to phrase things. Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. And that's true too, because I guess the machines, they'll understand human emotion in a way that they know what gets humans to respond. Like the whole clickbait thing. Okay, if we think humans are good at writing clickbait, well, guess what? GPT-3 is going to understand what really gets people, worked up and fired up, and what gets people to click on things. So that's true. I mean, it's going to start using human nature against us, which I suppose is what marketers are supposed to do. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other final comments you want to make about this?
Like OpenAI's decision that this was coming whether we liked it or not. It's true as well for these machine learning algorithms and how they're coming to change our careers, change our children's careers even more. Like, this is coming whether we like it or not. How are we going to use it and embrace it? How are we going to help our children, for example, understand how this will affect, their careers in the future? We don't know yet. There's so little we know. How can we predict, what this is going to mean for how work is done in the future? But we need to make sure that we're prepared for it and stay ahead of it and make sure you're the one who leverages it to its best ability.
Right. So I guess, when we were in elementary school, the teachers used to say, no, you have to learn how to do long division or whatever, because you're not ever going to have a calculator in front of you.
Yeah.
And now in creative writing classes, essentially this tool has become the calculator for content. Would you say that's
a
good analogy?
That is a very good analogy.
So essentially we got to learn how to leverage and use machine learning in whatever our industry is or our particular job function.
Agreed.
Okay, well, thanks so much for your time today, Rogan.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for having me.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.